Do you know any politicians who could use one of these? There's a way to get rid of them. I'm going to show you how. The last line of the Declaration of Independence says, "We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor." If we translate that into today's terms, it would be that we pledge to work together with our time, our money, and our reputation. Each of us spends money on frivolous things every month, be that lottery tickets, Starbucks coffee, things like that. If instead we focus on our freedom, what would we spend on a monthly basis to secure that freedom? This is why I urge people to consider setting aside $25 a month. That's all. If you have to do less, then do less. If you can do more, then do more. But let's use $25 a month as a benchmark. If you set that aside and put that in a jar that sits on your shelf, or if you put that in a savings account that you have that is in your control, then you can set aside $25 a month, and over the course of 1 year, you'll accumulate $300. Normally, when we give to a political campaign, we're excited to just give once. But if we're able to set aside money on a monthly basis, then at the end of that year, we can give $300 to the candidate that we choose to give it to. This is where the math really adds up. Because if we're able to set aside $300, if 350 of us in a congressional district or a state senate district or a state house district, if we can find just 350 patriots to join us in that effort, to each one of us set aside money, then over the course of 1 year, all of us across the 350 will be able to save $105,000. The way that we go about our elections is completely backwards. We wait for somebody to come forward who we don't know to challenge the incumbent we want to replace. We then take the time to try to figure out whether we want to trust the person who stepped forward, and then at the end of the cycle, just before the election, we might write a check if we get in early enough to help them get a little bit of name recognition. But that doesn't really help us. What works better is instead for us to simply set this money aside on a monthly basis, wait for the right candidate to step forward, and then when that candidate does step forward, then we give the money to them all at once. The right candidate should be one of the 350 who are, like us, putting the money aside so that we can get rid of the bad incumbent. Certainly among 350 patriots, we can find someone who has the character and integrity in the background that would be perfect for running for office. If that person then steps forward and during that year of setting aside money, if that person gains our trust and we come to understand who that person is, now we have full confidence in who we're giving the money to, and the campaign that they start, they don't start with $0 and maybe mom and dad or brother and sister helping them in their campaign. Instead, they start with over $100,000 and 350 invested patriots. We've looked at the math. Now let's look at the calendar. If during that time that we're setting that money aside so that we can give that money later, then during the summer of 2017, the right candidate can step forward, well-financed with $100,000 in the bank, well-supported by 350 patriots, and then they can start their campaign. And that right there is not a press release. That's a press conference where the media has no choice but to give great credibility to the start of the campaign rather than running during the campaign trying to get any media coverage they can. They start right out of the box ready to buy their own media coverage. The Founding Fathers were willing to put everything on the line, their lives, their fortune, and their sacred honor. For us to simply put aside $25 a month so that we can get behind a good candidate who emerges from among us later, that is simply what we need to do now because we have wasted time during all of these years getting people into office who didn't represent us correctly. But now we have an opportunity to get them, and now it's time for us to step up and do our part. You can learn more about this at the350plan.com. Sign up and encourage those you know to sign up as well, because the more organized we are, the more successful we'll be. Remember, it's important for us to mutually pledge to each other our time, our money, and our reputation if we're to have the same freedom for which the Founding Fathers fought so that we can have that for us and our children as well.